Welcome back friends. Welcome back to another video session from this channel. So in this video session, we are going to learn regarding the initiation phase of the translation mechanism in case of prokaryotes. Is it okay? So the specific mRNA which has synthesized during the transcription mechanism. Now the specific mRNA or the nascent mRNA, it is ready to participate in the translation mechanism. Is it okay? So let me present it here. So let us assume it as the mRNA, the nascent mRNA, right? The nascent mRNA which has synthesized during the transcription mechanism or the transcription process. So here at the extreme 5' end, there is an availability of a specialized site known as ribosomal binding site, or it is simply abbreviated as RBS. Is it okay? In addition to the ribosomal binding site, here there is an availability of a specialized stop codon or the termination codon at the extreme 3' end of the mRNA. So let me write it here. Stop codon or termination codon. Stop codon or termination codon. So once when the specific mRNA, when it is ready to participate in the translation mechanism or in the translation process, the specific subcellular organelle which is responsible in order to organize the translation mechanism or in order to organize the protein synthesis, now it is ready to participate here. So as we all know, in case of prokaryotes, the ribosomes which are available are 70S ribosomes. So 70S ribosomes, they are composed of two different subunits. One include 50S, it is the large subunit, and the other one is 30S, it is the small subunit. Is it okay? So during the initiation phase of the translation, at the very beginning, the small subunit of the ribosome, it is ready to capture or it is ready to bind to the mRNA. So in order to bind or in order to encode the nascent mRNA, the small subunit of the ribosome, it takes the advantage of a specialized site known as ribosomal binding site. So as the name itself suggests, so it is the specialized site where exactly the small subunit of the ribosome, it is ready to bind or it is ready to encode the mRNA. In order to recognize the mRNA, the small subunit of the prokaryotic ribosome, it takes the advantage of a specialized site known as ribosomal binding site or Shine-Dalgarno sequence. Now here my question is, how the small subunit of the ribosome, it is ready to recognize or it is ready to encode the ribosomal binding site? In order to encode or in order to recognize the ribosomal binding site or Shine-Dalgarno sequence, the small subunit of the prokaryotic ribosome, it takes the advantage of a specialized RNA sequence known as 16S rRNA. So within the small subunit of the prokaryotic ribosome, 16S rRNA is embedded. That means the ribosomal binding site, it is quite complementary to the 16S rRNA which is embedded in the 30S subunit of the prokaryotic ribosome. Is it okay? So let me write it here. So let us assume it as the small subunit of the prokaryotic ribosome, right? So the small subunit of the prokaryotic ribosome, it possesses three specialized sites, and these include A site, and it is nothing but P site, and it is nothing but E site. And here within the small subunit of the prokaryotic ribosome, 16S rRNA is embedded here. So by taking the advantage of 16S rRNA sequence, the small subunit of the ribosome, it is ready to encode the ribosomal binding site or Shine-Dalgarno sequence. So once when the small subunit of the ribosome, is it okay? So once when the small subunit of the ribosome, when it is ready to recognize the ribosomal binding site or Shine-Dalgarno sequence by taking the advantage of 16S rRNA, it is in association with a specialized factor known as initiation factor 3. The E site of the ribosome, it is in association with a specialized factor known as initiation factor 3. So let me write it here. Initiation factor 3. Is it okay? Now here my question is, what is initiation factor 3 here? In order to organize the initiation phase of the translation, the specific mechanism or the specific process, it takes the advantage of specialized factors known as initiation factors. So what are initiation factors here? Initiation factor 1, initiation factor 2 and initiation factor 3. Is it okay for you? So let me write it here. What are the three initiation factors? Initiation factor 1, initiation factor 2 and the last one is initiation factor 3. So before studying regarding the initiation phase of the translation mechanism in case of prokaryotes in detail, at first let us have a look on the activity of these three initiation factors. Is it okay? So what is the role of initiation factor 1 here? Initiation factor 1, it gets successfully recruited to the A site of the ribosome and it prevents the recruitment of the amino acid tRNA to the A site of the ribosome during the initiation phase. Amino acid tRNA, it is ready to encode or it is ready to bind to the A site of the ribosome only during the elongation phase but not during the initiation phase. In order to prevent the recruitment of the amino acid tRNA to the A site of the ribosome during the initiation phase, the initiation phase of the translation mechanism, it takes the advantage of a specialized factor which is nothing but initiation factor 1. Is it okay? And whereas initiation factor 2, by taking the advantage of one molecule of GTP, it is capable to bind to the P site of the ribosome. Is it okay? So here you may get a small clarification. Why the specific initiation factor 2? It had taken the advantage of one molecule of GTP for getting recruited to the P site of the ribosome. So the answer to this question is very simple. A site of the ribosome, is it okay? A site of the ribosome, it will allow the amino acid tRNA to get recruited only during the elongation phase but not during the initiation phase. But whereas P site of the ribosome, it will allow the initiated tRNA for getting recruited to the P site even during the initiation phase. So the reason why the specific initiation factor 2, it takes the advantage of one molecule of GTP for getting recruited to the P site of the ribosome. Is it okay for you? And whereas initiation factor 3, it gets successfully recruited to the E site of the ribosome and it will prevent the association of the large subunit of the ribosome with the small subunit. Association of the large subunit of the ribosome with the small subunit takes place only during the elongation phase but not during the initiation phase. In order to prevent the association of the large subunit of the ribosome with the small subunit, a specialized factor known as initiation factor 3, it gets successfully recruited to the E site of the ribosome not during the initiation phase, during the termination phase of the previous round of the translation. When the specific initiation factor 3, when it has got successfully recruited to the E site of the ribosome during the termination phase of the previous round of translation, the large subunit of the ribosome which is in association with the small subunit, it gets successfully dissociated and again the small subunit of the ribosome, it is ready to participate in another round of translation mechanism. Is it okay for you? So when the small subunit of the ribosome, when it is ready to encode or when it is ready to recognize the ribosomal binding site or Shine algorithm sequence, it is in association with a specialized factor known as initiation factor 3. Is it okay? So after the successful recruitment of initiation factor 3 to the E site of the ribosome during the termination phase of the previous round of translation. Now the small subunit of the ribosome, it is ready to recognize the ribosomal binding site by taking the advantage of 16S rRNA. So once when the small subunit of the ribosome, when it has got successfully recruited or when it has successfully recognized the ribosomal binding site or Stein-Dalgarno sequence, so very adjacent to that, a specialized initiation factor, which is nothing but initiation factor 1, it comes into the picture. Is it okay? Initiation factor 1. Initiation factor 1, it gets successfully recruited to the A site of the ribosome. And as already I have mentioned you, the activity of initiation factor 1, it will prevent the recruitment of the amino acid tRNA to the A site of the ribosome during the initiation phase. So once when the specific initiation factor 1, when it has got successfully recruited to the A site of the ribosome, very adjacent to that, a specialized initiation factor known as initiation factor 2, by taking the advantage of one molecule of GTP, it gets successfully recruited to the P site of the ribosome. Is it okay for you? So let me write it here. Initiation factor 2, by taking the advantage of one molecule of GTP, it gets successfully recruited to the P site of the ribosome. So once when all these three initiation factors, when they were got successfully recruited to those three specialized sites of the small subunit of the prokaryotic ribosome, now the small subunit of the ribosome, it proceeds successfully in 5' to 3' direction in order to recognize the start codon or the initiation codon. So in case of prokaryotes, the start codon or the initiation codon, most commonly it is AUG. So when the start codon or the initiation codon, when it is AUG, so under such condition, the initiating amino acid is neither methionine nor it is valine, but it is a modified form of methionine, which is nothing but formulated methionine. Is it okay for you? So when the small subunit of the ribosome, when it proceeds successfully in 5' to 3' direction, and when it is capable to recognize the start codon or the initiation codon by the means of a specialized mechanism, which is nothing but scanning. So scanning is an ATP dependent mechanism through which the small subunit of the ribosome, it is capable to recognize the start codon or the initiation codon. Is it okay for you? So let me present it here. So let me erase the things here first. So let us we assume it is the mRNA, right? So here, so let us we assume it as the start codon or the initiation codon. And let us we assume it as the small subunit of the prokaryotic ribosome with three specialized sites, A site, P site and E site. So here, so these are the three specialized initiation factors. Initiation factor 1, initiation factor 2 by taking the advantage of one molecule of GTP, and initiation factor 3. So once when the small subunit of the ribosome, when it is capable to recognize the start codon or the initiation codon, and once when the start codon, when it is placed so accurately at the P site of the ribosome by the means of a specialized mechanism known as scanning. So here what exactly happens here? A specialized tRNA known as initiated tRNA, it comes into the picture. Is it okay for you? In order to initiate the translation mechanism or in the translation process, a specialized tRNA known as initiated tRNA with its encoding amino acid, which is nothing but formulated methionine, it comes into the picture. So here the specialized initiated tRNA with its encoding amino acid, which is nothing but formulated methionine, it comes into the picture and it gets successfully recruited to the P site of the ribosome. So this is nothing but the formulated methionine, right? Is it okay? So once when the specialized initiated tRNA with its encoding amino acid, when it has got successfully recruited to the P site of the ribosome, now the specialized initiation factor 2, which is in association with GTP, it undergoes hydrolysis. The specialized initiation factor 2, when it is in association with GTP, it has higher affinity to get recruited to the P site of the ribosome. But the specialized initiation factor 2, which is in association with GDP, it has lesser affinity to get recruited to the P site of the ribosome. So the reason why, once when the specialized initiated tRNA with its encoding amino acid, when it has got successfully recruited to the P site of the ribosome, now the specialized initiation factor 2, which is in association with GTP, it undergoes hydrolysis, and the specialized initiation factor 2, which is in association with GDP, it gets successfully dissociated from the P site of the ribosome. Is it okay? So let me write it here. Initiation factor 2, which is in association with GDP, it has got successfully dissociated from the P site of the ribosome. So once when the specialized initiation factor 2, which is in association with GDP, when it has got successfully dissociated from the P site of the ribosome, now the specialized initiation factor 1, which has got successfully recruited to the A site of the ribosome, it gets successfully dissociated from its recruited site. Initiation factor 1. So once when the specialized initiation factor 1, when it has got successfully dissociated from the A site of the ribosome, now the specialized initiation factor, which is nothing but initiation factor 3, which has recruited to the E site of the ribosome, it gets successfully dissociated. Is it okay? So let me write it here. Initiation factor 3. So once when the specialized initiation factor 3, when it was got successfully dissociated from the E site of the ribosome, now the large subunit of the ribosome, it comes into the picture. Because as already I have mentioned you, in the presence of initiation factor 3, the large subunit of the ribosome, it is unable to associate with the small subunit of the ribosome. So the reason why, once when the specialized initiation factor 3, when it has got successfully dissociated from the E site of the ribosome, now the large subunit of the ribosome, it comes into the picture and it gets associated with the small subunit of the ribosome. Is it clear? So let me write it here. So these are the three specialized initiation factors, right? So once when the specialized initiation factor 3, when it has got successfully dissociated from the E site of the ribosome, now the large subunit of the prokaryotic ribosome, it comes into the picture, which is nothing but 70S. So once when the large subunit of the ribosome, when it is in association with the small subunit of the prokaryotic ribosome, now it leads to the formation of a specialized complex, which is nothing but 70S pre-initiation complex. So formation of 70S pre-initiation complex, it indirectly suggests or it indirectly says that the initiation phase of the translation mechanism in case of prokaryotes, it is successfully organized. Is it okay? So let me write it here. 70S pre-initiation complex. So once when the 70S pre-initiation complex, when it has successfully formed, now the 70S pre-initiation complex, it is ready to participate in the elongation phase of the translation mechanism in case of prokaryotes. So which we are going to study, which we are going to learn in the next upcoming video session. Is it okay? I hope that this video will help you a lot. So if you like this video, just hit the like button and share it to your friends. And I remember you people to subscribe my channel for getting more and more videos what I make day to day. Thank you.